Hello, so I promised a quick video demonstration of how to create a reference list. There are ways of doing this automatically, but we're going to do it manually with the help of a few documents that I've got open on a screen here. Okay, so all I'm going to do is share a screen with you and talk you through what I'm doing. Here's a very simple task that you can try. Take one page from an academic article that you're reading, or an example essay or report that you've been given. I'm going to use this one here. It's an example report from the dissertation module. And on that, on whatever page you choose, it doesn't matter which, I'd just like you to count how many references there are to other sources. So in this one here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so one page, 5 references, and then take any one of those references and just see where it leads you. So let me take this one here. So I've got a statement that says esports can be defined by, and then there's a quote, an area of sports activities in which people develop and train mental or physical abilities in the use of information and communication technologies. And then there's a name that I don't think I can pronounce, but I think it's Martinchik, 2015. So this is the name of the author who is being quoted here. We've got quotation marks so we know these are the words of that author. These are the words of the student who wrote the report, and they're using those words to introduce that quote. And we know that the author published the piece of work that this statement appeared in 2015. Okay, great. What about if we want to find that for ourselves? Okay, so there's a small problem in that if I had the original text that Martinchik wrote here, I wouldn't know which page to find this quote on, so it would have been good to have included the page here. But let me go down to the bottom of the article to the reference list. Okay, here we are. Long text, there's a conclusion, glossary, references. Now, hopefully it's in alphabetical order, and that will help me to navigate it. Okay, Martinchik, fantastic. So I can see Martinchik 2015, and that's how I know this is the text that student was referring to. It's a journal article called Computers in Human Behavior. I know that because it's in italics and it appears in this position. And the article itself is called Esports, Playing Just for Fun or Playing to Satisfy Life Goals. And I know that it's quite a short article. Look, it's 3 pages of volume 8 of Computers in Human Behavior 2015. So if I go to the library now with that information, I should be able to find that text and read it for myself. And okay, it'd be great if I had the exact page number for that quotation, but even without it, 3-page article, especially if I can find an electronic version of that, I should be able to find the quote. And that's great because one of the ideas behind referencing is what we might call the scientific method. I'm just going to try and show you an image that comes to my mind when I think of the scientific method, and it's this, right? So scientific method for me reminds me of being at school in science lessons, and every week in my science classes we would do an experiment, and after doing the experiment we always had to write a report. We had to introduce it, we had to say what the experiment was about and what we were trying to find out. We always had to draw the equipment that we'd used, and we'd have to describe what we did. Then we would describe our results, and then our conclusions. Okay, and I never really understood why we were doing that, because I was 12 years old. I wasn't particularly interested in science at the time, and no teacher ever explained to me why we had to write a report of every experiment that we did. But actually, now that I'm older, I think the scientific method, which is kind of what this approach of doing experiments, writing about it, and then sharing that with the rest of the world. Actually, it's a really positive and noble thing, right? Because the idea behind that kind of tradition of doing an experiment and sharing information about what you did, what you used, what results you saw, is that you could publish that document and anyone in the world could pick up your report of what you did and try it for themselves to see if they get the same results, to kind of see the whole thing for themselves, or maybe to change something in the experiment to see if the results are different. And then the result of everyone doing that around the world is progress. We kind of learn from each other and we try new things and we share our information. And yeah, so now as a grown-up, I think the scientific method is a wonderful thing. Maybe we can refer to an image like this. Okay? Any idea who this is? This is supposed to be a picture of Sir Isaac Newton, who, so the story goes, discovered gravity when he was sitting under a tree and an apple fell on his head. Okay, great. Now, Isaac Newton once said something I think was quite important, quite meaningful, and it's expressed here in this image. I don't know if this means anything to you, so just have a look at my image. Does that mean anything to you? Well, once when Isaac Newton was kind of receiving or responding to praise about his great achievements in physics, he wrote a letter in which he very modestly said, "If I have seen further," as in if I've done more things, if I've seen further than everyone else, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. So the idea here is that when whenever we discover something new, when we write, when we try something new, when we expand the horizons of knowledge and understanding in the world, we're doing it in relation to everyone else who's come before us. And because of everything that people before us achieved, we can do more, we can see further. So we're standing on their shoulders. Now, if we go back to the document that I was just looking at with, what's his name? Martinich. Okay, now Martinich here is kind of one of the giants whose shoulders this student sits on top of. And by recording details of what Martinich did in their publication, this student is able to also show us what they did in producing this report. They did all of this reading, and if we want to, we can retrace their steps. Okay. Now, what I would encourage you to do with anything that you're reading this week that has references in it is just, as I say, take a page, pick a couple of the references, and just see where they take you. Have a look at how is the writer using the information that they've read from that other author, and how are they recording information to help us to find it too. Another one here at the top of this document is Trepte et al. Now, et al is a Latin abbreviation which means kind of and the others. So when we go to the reference list at the bottom of this document, we should find Trepte. Look, here we don't see Trepte et al. We see Trepte, Renique, and Jukams. So there's 3 authors here. Any document that, any source that has 2 authors, you can name both of the authors. Any document, any source that's got 3 authors or more, we can just give the name of the first one and et al. And here we have another text from a journal article. So the journal here is called Computers in Human Behavior. It's volume 28, issue 3 of that. It's a longer document, and the article is called The Social Side of Gaming, How Playing Online Computer Games Creates Online and Offline Social Support. Now, if you just spend a few minutes with an article, with an essay, with a report, looking at how the writer is using sources, and then going back, so this sentence says, today, as online gaming has become a major leisure time activity, I think this may be a bit of a problem here because we've got a quotation running over 2 sentences. That's not great, but I think what this student is trying to do is show us that the words used here come from Trepte et al. Okay, now you are all going to do a much better job than that. And we're going to start looking at how you can do that. And one of the first things that you can do, your task this week, is to start building a bibliography of text that you're reading for your dissertation project. And let's take as an example, if you bear with me, remember this article from last week, The End of Demographics, How Marketers Are Going Deeper with Personal Data. Okay, now that's from a website. So what I did is I copied it and pasted the text into a Word document just so that we could do a couple of things with it. Now I want to capture some information from this document. One is I want the title. Obviously that's important. I think even more important is the name of the author, Jamie Beckland. Okay, I'm just going to type that into another document. Jamie Beckland. The date of publication, which is 2011. What else do I need? Well, I know this came from a website called Mashable UK. And I've got the URL for that. So while you've been looking at that document, I've been just copying and pasting some details onto another one. So let's have a look at this together. Okay, so those are my details. I think with all of these details, anyone can find this article. Anyone with an internet connection can find this article by Jamie Beckland. Okay, now how do I make this into an item on a reference list? Well, we're going to use an author date system. You'll hear some people talking about like Harvard as a name for this referencing system. And that's fine. I hear lots of people saying Harvard for a number of slightly different things, but ultimately what they're looking at is what's called an author date referencing system, and that means that in our writing we refer to the author's name and the date of publication, and in our reference list we put the author's surname first and then we put the date of publication. In some other subject areas, there are different systems for recording for this information. The most important thing for anyone at university right now is to have an awareness of the style that is preferred in their field, and consistency. Okay, so first piece of information I need is the author's surname. So I'm going to put that there. So we start with the author's surname, we put a comma, we put their first initial, which is J, we put the date of publication. I'm going to put it in brackets just to keep it clear for you what the difference is between the author's name and the date of publication. Personally, I quite like a minimalist style where I don't use the brackets. Okay, now I want the name of the article itself. Okay, and then I want the name of the publication. Okay, so there's two things here: the text written by the author and the place where it was published. And because this is a website, we're just going to put the name of the website, and then I'm going to write available online at, and then I'll include the URL. Make it easy for my reader, as easy as possible, to find this for themselves. Okay. We can use italics to show the difference between our article name and the publication. Sorry, only Mashable UK should be. And with online text, we do one more thing, which is we add square brackets, and we use either last accessed, or you can write retrieved as you wish. I'm putting last access and then today's date, which is the 16th of November 2010 to 2020. And I'm including that detail because maybe this website is going to change tomorrow. Okay? And if it changes tomorrow, whoever reads my essay and my reference list is going to say, Beckler didn't say that. And I say, wow, that's what was there on the 16th of November. If it changed since then, I'm sorry, I'm not referring to that. Okay? And that's one of the potential problems with regular websites, that the content can change and kind of the information there is kind of moving, and so perhaps it's not the most reliable thing for us to use in an essay. So another thing I'd like to use in my essay is a book, and I'm just going to consult my notebook for a second because last week one of my students gave me the name of a book, and now by magic you can see the book that the student was referring to. So this is Cybernetics by Norbert Wiener. Now, how do I put this into my reference list? So, first thing we already know is the name of the author. That's Wiener, N. Book's got a long title, hasn't it? Cybernetics, or Control and Communication in the Animal and the Machine. Okay, is that enough information? Well, one thing I know I can do is I can put that in italics because that's the name of the publication, that's the name of the book. But am I happy with this? Let's see, what else do I need? Okay, I need my references to look consistent, so I need the date of publication. So where do I find the date of publication? Well, if I just take a book off my shelf. Right, so usually on the inside cover of a book, next to the contents page maybe, the first page in a book with some print on should have some details about when a book was published. I've actually looked on Amazon, there's other places that you can look, but Wiener's book was published in 2013, or rather the second edition published in 2013, and that's the one that I've read, so that's the one that I'm going to include in my reference list. And the other thing I need is like who put this out in the world. So the publisher is Martino Fine Books, and it may be that you have a copy of this book by a different publisher. So of course you write the name of your publisher, the publisher of your edition of the book. It may be that yours is the first edition, not the second edition. And these details are really important, because if you want someone to see the steps that you took and to read the text that you read, to find them for themselves, if you're referring to page 76 in a different copy of the book, the information you've got on your page 76 might be somewhere else. Okay, so that's why we include details like this. Okay, so we've got an example of a website, a book, and I want to add one other example to this, and let's go and fetch ourselves a journal article to add. Okay, now, again, by magic, I have travelled to the JSTOR text analyzer, which is a resource I've mentioned to a couple of students recently. I quite like this. It's a really useful tool. If you've got one article that you've found very useful and you want to read kind of more on the same topic, you can use this to find more examples for you. Now, I told you earlier that I had copied and pasted the text about marketing, and I put it into a Word document. Okay, so that's the marketers are going deeper with personal data. I took that, copied it into a Word document, then turned it into a PDF, and now I'm going to upload that PDF to the JSTOR text analyzer. And what's happening now is the software is analyzing that text, identifying the topics within it, and it's going to make some recommendations. And so from that web page, which wasn't particularly academic, I'm going to get something academic to explore instead. Okay, so what happens with the text analyzer is it tells me the different important terms it thinks are in my article. Now, I'm not too interested in consumer behaviour, but maybe online social networking I am, and information science I'm interested in, so I can kind of change the weighting. It tells me like various topics. I can choose to include more of these in my search. I've got some people, though not many. And then on the right, it's recommending some text for me. Now, I can see one of the first articles it's recommending for me is from 2011, and that's a long time ago. February 2011, I wasn't even married, I wasn't a father, I wasn't happy, right? Because I hadn't done the two most important things in my life yet. So I'm going to just reduce this to, say, 2016 to 2020, for bad times politically, but let's see. Now, by reducing my search to that period, I'll get more recent articles to look at. Here's one: market segmentation in action, marketing and yet to be installed, role of big and social media data. That looks really relevant to the same topic. I'm going to download that PDF. When you're a university student, you can use your university login to access articles like this. So brilliant. So I've got this article, and now I just need to take out the information that I think is most important for my reference list. I'm just going to copy from there, and I can take you back to my reference list document, copy and paste. Oops, didn't work, did it? Okay, bear with me and I'll see if I can make magic happen again. Oh, where did that come from? Okay, so That's my title, isn't it? Market segmentation in action. But you know already that the first thing I need is actually the names of the authors. And I've got 2 authors. Notice I'm just able to copy and paste with most of this. Let me make the text bigger so that you can see. Let me keep my font consistent. So Pridmore is the first author's name. J. There's 2 authors here, so L-E. Okay. The date of publication 2017. The journal is called Historical Social Research. So I've got the name of the article, and the name of the journal. I'm going to put my journal article in italics. And the last 2 things I'm going to include is the volume number and the issue number. You can do it like that, vol 42, issue 49, but we can also just do number 42 with 59 in brackets. Usually we also include page numbers, and I can check the document itself for page numbers. I'm pages 103 to 122. So 103 to 122. Okay. And now we've included all of the information that we need in order to help our reader find the article for themselves. The only thing left to do, okay, I've got 3 references here, but slight problem is my first reference begins with a B, second one with a W, and the third with a P. We want our reader to be able to find what they want quickly and easily. So to make that happen, if you remember when I was looking through references earlier, I was looking through a reference list in alphabetical order, and that made it very easy for me to find what was it, Martin Chick, the one that was beginning with M. So I'm going to put these in alphabetical order as well. B first, P, and then W. And those are the basic first steps in putting together a reference list. Okay, your task now is to create your own reference list with 6 sources. I know that you have to create a list with 6 sources for your proposal. If you don't have 6 yet, it doesn't matter if you send me 3 or you send me 4 or whatever. Just whatever text you've got already, make a reference list and send it to me. And as one extra task beyond this, I'd like you to just take one of the texts, if you've got 6, one of your 6 sources, and just write a paragraph to explain what it's about, and then another paragraph to explain how it relates to your dissertation. Okay, we can talk more about this in the future, but that's the next thing for you to do after you've sent me a reference list. Okay, happy referencing, and I hope you found this video helpful, and see you soon. Bye bye.